Hello and welcome to Nollywood Film Club podcast. I am Mr. C of Iroko Critic, and today we have another fun discussion. No, yeah, I was happy for this one because this is a low budget one. This is a low budget film that actually managed to garner a lot of attention, garner a lot of watch hours behind it's one of the most streamed Nollywood movies. I think it was only second behind Adeoluwa um, of 2022, despite coming out very much later on in the year. So huge shout out to this film. Um, we discuss it in pure Nollywood Film Club fashion. There's discussions about the end I find funny to hear again, and all of these people have the same takes. You will also be without my superb hosting skills for this space. Mrs. C is hosting this space, but I think she does a wonderful job. Don't tell her that. But without further ado, I do hope you enjoy Nollywood Film Club discussing the Griot. Actually have to do the intro again. I'm sorry because we're trying to do a podcast thing here. So I don't. All right. Okay. Welcome everybody to Nollywood Film Club. We discuss movies, Nollywood movies every Sunday. Today we're discussing the Griot. Whatever. And yes, we'll discuss the good, we'll do the bad, and then we'll do a summary. All right, so let's start with Vanessa. Vanessa, please tell us the things you liked, the good about the Griot.
It's okay. I'm gonna do like a basic whatever of what the griot was because Otas asked for it before I start my likes. So the griot is a member of a storytelling class in West African tradition. It's usually like passed down from family within families, and only like certain families are griots. Um, apparently the word is apparently rooted in like French/Portuguese origins, but whatever. But there are a number of West African traditions that have griots, and they're like sort of keepers of oral history. That being said, I don't know how I became the IMDb for this. It's weird because as soon as I watched the film, I saw a tweet about some West African woman who came from a family of griots, and even though her family used to be all men, it was a thing in their family where it was all men who were griots. She became the first female griot in her family. I don't know, for whatever reason, all the griot information just started coming to my whatever. Um, my likes. I liked the premise of this. I feel like more and more stories should be told about West African traditions. Prior to this, I wasn't educated on what a griot was. I mean, I knew that the Yoruba tradition was very rooted in storytelling and used a lot of oral means to pass on information about our culture and our tradition, our religion, the whole 9 yards. And it was mainly passed down through storytelling. That I knew. I just didn't know that it was a tradition that went across a bunch of other West African traditions. So I guess I would like for more stories like this to be cool because I feel like we have a wealth of stories like these, and I enjoyed this. I think I sort of also liked that it was told in like a stage play dramatic type thing. I don't know, it just felt very this could do very well on stage. And I don't know, I liked that. I think they succeeded at translating the stage play thing better than Election Oba did. Um what else did I really like? I like that I was seeing a number of faces that I hadn't seen before. Maybe this is me, but a couple of the people who played leads and like aside from Latif Adedimeji and like maybe the parents and the older people, a lot of the other people I hadn't seen in a lot of things before. So I liked seeing that. Um a huge like is obviously Latif Adedimeji. Latif is an incredible talent. And I feel like we say this all the time, especially when we see him either as a lead or in a, dramatic role. Like we said it while we were watching Naila, and it's the same thing here, and it genuinely just baffles me and concerns me that in a lot of other mainstream Nollywood productions, they sort of cast him as comedic relief. And I don't know, it just feels, I take it personally, it just feels offensive to me that they're underutilizing Latif's talent. He was fantastic in this. You know that thing when Nollywood has a stereotype for what nerds are, and there's that nonsense of pushing the glasses up the nose and that little sniff that they do in their mind. They're portraying a lack of um well, I guess in this case a lack of self-confidence or whatever, and it just comes off as very stereotypical and very offensive. Latif does what I think all these people have been trying to do, the FRs and the Timinis, so effortlessly without it being very aggravating. This is someone who is obviously incredibly talented, and with his father who he's comfortable with, he has no issues with speaking and being confident. But with this girl, he's tongue tied, and he doesn't lose any personality. He doesn't come off as like a caricature of someone who just gets nervous about around someone who he has a crush on. And it was done really well. Honestly, it was my favorite part of watching this was just watching Latif prior to when he had a relationship with this babe. Just watching Latif, not look at her in the eye and put his eye down. He still says hello to her, but I don't know. It was very endearing. I just enjoyed seeing Latif play this role. Um, I actually liked the romance in this. Wait, I know it's not a rom com. I know it's not romantic. It. I really like the romance in this. It was so sweet. Since 2022, this whole 2022 that we've been watching film, not one romance has come from Nollywood that gave me the butterflies. And I'm taking this personally because I'm a romance stan. And this gave me such feels. I don't know. It's the obviously very confident, beautiful girl who actually likes this guy. And here's this guy who actually has a crush on her but does not know that she likes him too. I don't know, it's just so cute. And then we had the random human being who's trying to put us under, which is key in a romance. Like, this was so cute. I was like, oh, I love, man. And the scenes where she was helping him, gain his confidence with his storytelling. Honestly, that whole montage. You know how I'm a montage stan? How I'm always crying for montages to be used effectively in Nollywood films. That montage of them meeting each other, even after her parents said they should not meet, the way she would run. Oh, the montages gave me everything. I was like, yes, make me smile, give me warmth. I'm single. So me, I'm living my romantic life through these films, and Hollywood has been letting me down. I just genuinely loved how beautiful they were. I love that he had his own career, which was probably why he had no issues with giving these stories to this guy. I don't know. I really actually liked this. What else did I like? I liked his relationship with his dad, and I don't know if I've noticed this before, but I don't think Nollywood does male relationships very well. Not like they do female relationships better, anyways. But I don't know. There's something about how his relationship with his father was portrayed. The fact that he calls him Babalakunle. I don't know. I just love how they were friends. He and his dad. There was a mutual respect between them. His dad loved his son. I feel like we need to see these things on screen. These representations of human relationships. You know, I remember I can't remember what film we were talking about, and we were talking about, okay, I think it was Tainted Canvas, and how disappointed we were in the fact that the female relationship with her best friend that was established in the first half of the film just sort of dwindled away. And it doesn't always have to be a romantic relationship that's developed in our storytelling. Just relationships between father, son, mother, daughter, friends. these relationships are important as well, and telling them in the most realistic ways are important. And just like in a clear on, I just really enjoyed seeing his relationship with his parents, with his father, I mean. And I think this film did a lot with like relationships between people, like even her relationship with her sister, and how her sister was the one who she sent on errands. Because there's no way you, as an older person, an older sibling in Nigerian family, will not send your younger sister on an errand. And the fact that her mother still babies her younger sister is like, don't send my daughter on an errand. It just felt very real, and it felt very Nigerian. And those are the things that we say when we say we want authenticity in our stories. It's the little things, the things that make us who we are in our interpersonal relationships with others should also be portrayed on film. And I really liked seeing this. All in all, I really liked the Griot actually. I have a little issues, I do, but I really like the Griot.
All right, thanks, Vanessa. Just wanted to say when we're talking about the little sister, I think I said she reminds me of the teenager from Deadpool,
Deadpool.
where she's it's just a lot of teenage
Angst.
angst and
I love the little sister. She was a vibe.
character.
Yeah.
But yes,
Always looked like she was over it. Doesn't matter what it was, she was over it.
all right, but thanks, Vanessa. All right, Tash, do you want to tell us the things you liked about the career? I, I
Sure.
I forgot. Sorry, before you go on, I forgot to say that there is a 6 minute thing. This will not apply to you, Tash, I'm sure, but um, but yes, there's a 6 minute thing. I am timing. All right, sorry, go on.
Anyways, I'm happy to give some of my minutes to somebody else, guys. Just beg me nicely. All right. So the griot. Um okay. So the things I liked about the griot, I will say that I liked 95% of it, which is honestly great. I had a great time watching this movie for the most part. I'm not typically a romance girl. However, this is my favorite romance of the year. And I'm including both Nollywood and Hollywood. It was just such a well told story. The feelings, the shyness. I think it's like probably one of the more perfect love stories of the year. I really enjoyed the relationship between the father and the son. It was effortless and they care for each other. They very much cared for each other, and it was clear that he was rooting for. Sorry, what was Latif's character's name?
Lakunle.
Mm, like,
What?
Lakunle,
Lakunle?
right? Yes.
Lakunle. Okay. So even in his relationship with his friend is carefully unraveled. Even the parts where we realize that he's a leech, but Lakunle doesn't yet know. I liked how they navigated that situation. I liked the different complexities of his shyness. It wasn't one note. It wasn't flat, like Vanessa said. He wasn't pushing glasses up his face. It was very evident the people he was comfortable with, and the people he wasn't comfortable with. I even liked the stories that he told. They told. They were very much stories we'd have heard growing up, um, and so those were fun. I stereotyped the character Latif was going to be playing going in just because of the typical characters Latif usually plays, and so I very much after I read so I didn't watch a trailer. I read the summary online, and I very much expected that Latif would be the leeching friend who is like, bigger than life and stealing stories. And so it was very pleasantly surprising to see Latif play the character that he played, and to have sort of an unknown. I don't know if other people know him, but it was unknown to me. To have an unknown kind of be the focal point for the most part of the story, and still have Latif shine through his acting, which is very quiet and subtle for the most part. And even in the end, where he starts to find his voice. And so, yeah, I thought the supporting characters were great. Even I don't know Lakunle's friend's name, but Lakunle's friends were sort of funny. I thought this was a rom com for the most part, and probably should have been, but um, all in all, a good watch.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, everybody giving this a lot of. Well, I said so far,
So far.
a lot of people giving it a love, a lot of. It's giving a lot of people good vibes. It's giving people heart. It's people are feeling the rom com. And you know what? Like, I can't. Maybe I'd say maybe I'm still leaning towards rom more than
Oh,
rom
but there were
com.
so many lines that were bangers.
There's
Can't remember them, but I remember them sending me.
all right, but yes, thanks a lot for that, Tess. Ainka,
Ayinka.
please give
Hello.
us the things you
Could you keep Osas, can you please give me some more minutes?
like. No, but
You can have them
Tess
all.
even give you
Thank you,
didn't.
Osas. Can you add it
It's
to my
all of
minutes? Thank you.
2 minutes, but no.
No? Okay.
Do your six first, and let's
Okay.
see.
So I absolutely enjoyed this movie because I watched it after I saw the movie that we watched last week because I thought maybe there was something wrong with me. So I wanted to go watch another Nigerian movie and I was like, okay, there's nothing wrong with me. The movie was great performances. As everybody said, Latif did very well. The main female actress, her voice was beautiful. I loved the fact that it's about like it takes inspiration from West African culture, and even like the the script writing itself too. I think there was so many delights, wonderful things that maybe the script writer did very well because even the villain of the movie, the leech, is not is giving dimension, right? He's not just only a leech, right? We can see that he wants more from life and is willing to do leechy things for it. And you can also see the actor who played him, who played it also showed that he not only does he does want the girl because he believes the girl is going to make him famous, but it also has a certain feeling for her that is actually something that could be echoing to genuine. So I think the actor did a very good job. He could just he didn't he gave the character a dimension, and I think maybe that also came from also the script writing. Um, I really liked it. Was a simple story about telling stories, and it told stories well, and the world felt lived in because we get to see the relationships between many different peoples, and also like to turn to talk about technique to turn to talk about technicalities and all that. Did I say technicality? Production wise, I love that the fact that the transitional shots they showed the village that it's not I don't know, I think they shot in two different places, but like the just showing like the everydayness of it, the beautiful shots, just it makes it feels lived in, textured and all that. Yes, I do have some criticism, but it is a wonderfully simple story with good acting and just competent filmmaking. And it is the basic and it brings joy. It didn't need to be something complicated. It didn't need to be ridiculous. It didn't need to be overwrought. And yet everybody enjoyed their moments, their times, and people kind of will remember it more. You know, sometimes you don't have to be the greatest movie, you don't have to be doing the greatest things. Sometimes you just sometimes have to do the simplest things, and those things connect to people more because you know we're closer to the simple things than we are closer to the bigger things. Most people in the world are, and I loved it. I loved its cheapness in Nigerian, not just Nigerian, just West African, but very much Nigerian Yoruba, very much Yoruba culture. But even though it translated it to English, and it's like, it's wonderful. It was wonderful. It was really good. This is not even the bigger movies or bigger budget movies, and it's amazing. I liked it. It was wonderful. I like the story. I like the way they characterize the people in the story. I like the all the acting. The king, the mother. Nobody is particularly over vile until a point. I will over vile. You could feel everybody was like an actual human being. Most everybody was an actual human being. I like that. I like that type of care with that type of characters. it's something that's just wonderful. So yeah, this was one of the particular joys of the year. That's the end.
Thank you.
Look at that. You see, you didn't even need extra
Me a
extra
time
time.
limit, so I rush. I'm so sorry.
You have a whole 2 minutes left, but thank you.
I
Yeah. 6 minutes is a long time. People keep on underrating what can be said in 6 minutes, but yeah. Thank you. But we'll still give people another chance to go again if there's more to say. But yes, actually, something I do agree with is like just simplicity of the
The
story,
story.
but doing the simple things well.
Mm-hmm.
You don't always have to do a grand. In fact, I encourage not to do at this point and time in our things, not to do the big grand complex six, because like it's difficult to do. But yes, thank you, Inka. All right.
Creative side.
Uh, uh what?
Creative
Creative
fingers.
fingers. Okay.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Right.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
I
So,
don't know if you need to film club, but we are doing the good. So just the things you like, if you can.
all right, thank you. Personally, this film is a solid 9/10 for me. Like, great storytelling. I'm so impressed, proud, and in fact, it's one of the best Nollywood for me. Right. I feel like the storyteller. I was told by a storyteller, well told. And one particular thing I like about movies, and I've not really seen in a lot of Nollywood movies, is passing a message, giving an idea, and delivering it, like execution, like good execution. And this film delivers on all fronts, because for me, I feel like they were able to engage us from the start to the finish. And even though they made it interesting with the romance, the core message was still very intact in the relationship between the storyteller, that's Somi and Lakunle. They are like two parts of the whole, the artist and his muse. And there are two people whose fate intertwines, and like they lack each other. For Lakunle, he's shy, so he cannot tell his story to a crowd of people. And then on the other side, Tommy is very audible and eloquent and can express himself, but doesn't have any story. So two of them must find a common ground to succeed. But then it's more about the artist here, because the artist gets the fame, gets the wealth, gets the recognition, but doesn't want to refill from the cup where he scoops his water. It's a powerful story because it speaks to every artist. You have a muse, and then to everyone that takes, you have to also give. It has to keep on going round and round. So it's very powerful. And the way they mildly, put in the romance, making them have a want, together, so that we'll see whether they discover what they need, and we'll see whether there will be a change in the character arc. But then there's no change, and so eventually it's a tragedy, right? So for me, it's exquisite. And I don't know. I really, really love this. There's so much I love, right? There's so much. Is it the story world? Because, the panorama views will always let us know that this place is kind of an enclosed, like setting community. So it makes sense that, they even have some kind of olden days stuffs in front of the mud houses, and then they are using cowries, even with native, and then they're even speaking English. But it's just like someone said, confident filmmaking. It came from a personal place in the storytelling, and I think that's what everybody that needs to tell stories now in Hollywood should focus on: telling a story you are connected to. It's very clear that the storyteller was connected to this story. Like from even the little things, like everybody has been, saying, the simplicity. So for me, it's great, totally great. That's why I said I would have to definitely come on here to say that this is a great film and I love it. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you. We appreciate
You're
sharing,
coming on to share.
yeah, and sharing the film love. Like too many times, like especially a lot of us do criticize movies. I always say it's important that if you love a film, you also love it loudly.
Yep.
And that's why obviously Namaste Wahala. We always get a shout out.
Get out.
Come on,
Get out.
Namaste.
Get out. Elizabeth, please tell us what you liked.
Okay, so 6 minutes, my time starts now. Okay, when I started watching the Griot, when I saw the trailer, I wasn't so sure what to expect. I was like, you know what, let me just go in blind. But when I watched the Griot, everybody was talking about how simple this story is. But first, I want to start with Latif Adedimeji. I believe Latif is endgame, and I'm not joking. I know we've been talking about our actors and what they can do or cannot do, their limitations, right? Latif is one person that I think is very aware of his talent and is trying his best. Or either that or he listens to his directors very well. And I mean, it's maybe he won't listen to his directors when he's doing nonsense too. Because it really shows in, like Vanessa said, it wasn't your stereotypical shy person. It was encompassing. It was everything. It was, you get his relationship with the people he's comfortable with. And I know we were like, maybe this is just romance and not rom-com, but honestly, did you not laugh when he started knocking the tree? When instead of him to talk to this babe, Tiwa was knocking the tree. I thought that part was funny. It does something so effortlessly, right? And I thought that, you know what? Latif is endgame shy in Hollywood. If we can find somebody who can maybe make him greater than what this is, I think he's one person that can be greater than what he is currently because he seems to be very aware of his talent and he's putting it to work. Another thing I like about the Griot is the vagueness of the time period. Let me tell you guys, I really, really, really like that. Towards even to the end of the movie, I think the most modern thing I saw was the bicycle. So I'm like, you know what? Yeah, whatever. I like this. I like that. I like when a story world, when a fictional world is built, right, and it just throws you into that world. It's not trying to because they didn't mess on time we don't know from the story, and they also make sure that from the story piece we also don't know. Though they use the typical houses that were built by the slave returnees. So we're seeing the houses, the architecture from like the 20s, the 40s, right? I mean, mostly the 20s. So we're seeing the architecture from that time. It was still popular, also up popular until like maybe the late 80s to the 90s. So again, we don't know what time period we are in. We just know that we're in a time. That's another thing I love about the word. The word is, for me, is believable. I know that people were like, oh, maybe they are spoken Yoruba, but for me, this is a word that created that, like, this is a fictional word that everything just works together within that word that was built. Another thing I really liked is that apart from the locations, the I think the architecture especially is something that I love so much. See, I've not seen it in a lot, but it's something I grew up with because I grew up in Accra and I see this kind of buildings all the time. It's part of me. I like that so many places you go to in town and then you see this kind of buildings. So seeing them in movie, I seeing them as parts of a story, it just made me really happy. Another thing I like is the again the believability and the world building. It's in the subtle way, not even subtle way where you know how when we're reviewing Anikulapo and election, but we go, oh, the world building with in Anikulapo, we see what the craft of the people then, but it seems like proper production, even though we see it, but then you see it's sort of like production in such a way that they want you to see it, they're focused on it, they really want it to be like, this is something we want to show you. This is something that the Griot did fantastic way, like so fantastic. There was a place where there was a woman just drying a cassava, but it was such a split quick thing in it was that bicycle. There's this nice frame, like sunsets, mine riding bicycle, rather walking with his bicycle. Maybe it's coming from the farm. I love that shot. I love that shot. Again, it was in the tiny way
Have we lost Elizabeth? Is it just me?
Just Elizabeth.
Okay. All right. Oh, Elizabeth has a minute.
Things without it looking like
Oh,
it was a production. Even Tiwa's father's house, he's a hunter just from looking at the house, the way he's dressed. Is in the simple thing without it. So everything just merged into that world without it making you look like, oh, look, notice, this is what we are trying to get to you to notice. Another thing again that I like is, and this is, I'm going to use the spite of their budget because I don't think they have a lot of budget. But I like that they could get crowd, even the extras. I'm guessing the extras are like town people and they just use them. It's in the latest thing, like when there was a scuffle, there was a mini fight. Siwa's mother came to tell Lakunle off, and the neighbors just came down, just watched the beat, and they went. It was in the tiny little details.
we have lost her again, I guess. 1 minute left. All right. Nobody else can hear this, but right?
No.
Okay. All right.
I bet you were still hearing her in 3 seconds.
Yeah, I know how these things usually go. All right. Should we just move on to someone else? Cynthia, do you want to tell us the things you liked about the Griot?
Oh yeah, just that. See, I don't have strength today, so if I do in 6 minutes, I cannot rush. I might end up talking 5 times. So,
Wow. Wow.
Just start talking first.
All right.
yeah. For some reason, the community actually gave me the 2000 vibe. So, and maybe it's because it looked like my grandmother's village when I went to visit her when I was in primary school. But anyway, I actually like the community. Um, I like their clothing. It was like normal or usual. The shirt and the wrapper, or the shirt and the Ankara trouser. I mean, in my head, this thing was shot in 2000, so maybe that's why I didn't have problem with them speaking English. Just that some few things kept drawing me back, like the female lead hair style. But yeah, then I also like that kids were being kids in this movie, and this because a lot of times you want to give kids role that they're not supposed to play. I just love that the children. I like the children and the teens at the youth festival. I like the king and his daughter. Even when the wife came and and she showed that the two jealousy, I was like, you are jealous of father and daughter relationship, eh? I enjoyed all the songs and the dance in this movie. Yeah, I forgot to say I didn't want to watch this movie. Yeah, I forgot to say it. So, um, I think after watching Election Yoruba, I told myself that I'll give Yoruba setting movie a break. And if not for this film club, I would not have watched this movie. So I'm thankful that I ended up watching this movie because I enjoyed it. Then yeah, sorry for the break. Then the characterization. So I like Somi's characterization. It worked for me. I mean, the best friend who gets get his friend's story and he likes the babe. Like I remembered when Lakule told him to take Tiwa something at the river. And he went there, he didn't complete the gist. And I was like, you big head, will you talk? Like, so his character worked for me because I disliked him. I disliked that he was liking his friend's girlfriend and he was not giving her the full gist. And when he started saying only a famous person can handle a famous person, I was angry. I just wanted them to lock this guy up. Then I'm assuming everybody must have said it. Latif was phenomenal in playing his role Lankule. I was happy that it was not doing an IG comedic role. I believed it was very in fact, I believed it was shy. Right from when he and his father visited Tiwa's parents. what he was doing, I was like, yeah, this guy was shy, and he was so consistent in playing this role, and it slowly developed the confidence. So I was like, yeah, I was connected to his character. I also like Tiwa, like I love Baba Lakule. I really, really love Lakule's father. No, that push and everything and the setup, I really, really love him. I liked Bose, Romuke, like almost everyone acted well. Like I really, really love the actors in this movie. I'm quite shameless. I enjoy the stories that were told in this movie, especially the Frey Giant story. So, I know Ota said she has heard the story before. Me, I've not heard the story before. So I was curious, like the king's assistant, even the king, because I was lying down when I was watching the movie. So I was like, I stood up and raised my hand. I was like, okay. So why is the Frey Giant still running? Why didn't he get tired? So yeah, they were able to like connect me. I mean, this is what they probably wanted their audience to be able to connect to the movie, and yeah, I was connected. And um for a movie where storytelling is a central theme, I felt like the stories they told were really good, and it matched up. I liked Tiwa's voice. She was a beautiful singer, and them telling us she was a beautiful singer and her voice was beautiful was good, because I mean I've watched a lot of Nollywood movie where they want to tell me someone is a superstar and you will not believe the person is a superstar. So Tiwa being a singer and the voice was beautiful was, yeah, it just made me connect. Like this little things they were telling us, or these little things that we saw, and we know that this was what this person was doing in this movie, just made me connect to the movie. I also like the use of the music. Is it music or sound? I don't know. But like there were some music, like when it's tense, they played that sound or music, I don't know. But I liked it. Then my favorite scene, I've not passed 6 minutes. Wow. My favorite scenes were when
30,
Lakule went to what?
30 seconds left.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I have three more things. So let me just cool. My favorite scenes were when Lakule. Mel, please now. My favorite scene was when Lakule went to Tiwa's house to give her clothes. Like the awkwardness, I was really really laughing. Then even when Baba Lankule, my favorite character, steps Lankule and Tiwa in the house, and Tiwa was like, "Cool on, I don't bite," and it was like, I like you, and I've always liked you." Oh my god, I was laughing and I was still smiling because I'm a sucker for love. Then finally, I enjoyed both of them singing together. Like my heart was just going and going, and I think I even joined them in the second verse of the song because I mean, who does not like love? Okay, yes, that's it.
Uh,
Thank you, Cynthia. You're
uh,
all soft in film club, Sha.
yeah, I did like when people bring specific moments. I think that that seems to do a little hit a little home more. But yeah, thanks, Cynthia. Uh, T, do you want to go? Tell us the things you liked about the Griot.
Yeah, hi everyone. Uh, can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Um, I had seen this movie for I knew about this movie. In fact, I had reserved it before it came out, but I wasn't sure I was going to watch it. But when I realized that we are going to be discussing it today, I decided, I was like, you know what? Let me just watch it. Let it just be like that. Um, I like the lead actor in this movie. He's literally one of my favorite actors. He is a very good actor. So I knew that my um, I didn't want him in a situation whereby he had to carry a movie that was a terrible movie. You understand? But the more I got into the movie, the more I realized that everyone in the movie actually played their roles very, very well, and no one was carrying anyone. I liked the play aspect setting of the movie, so it felt like a play, a stage play, and also the fact that you couldn't define what era the movie was shot in. Just know that it was early post-colonialism. You understand? Between the 60s and the 80s, anywhere between that time. Well, 60s, 70s, because there were no cars. Um,
I like the authenticity of what's there about my language of each scene. And to be honest, I think this movie is about two friends and who we really are as a person. When one got fame, he showed his true colors. You understand? Because when everyone's poor, there's a saying that goes on. There's no when everyone's poor, everyone's happy. But once money comes into the situation, you will actually get to see the real characters of certain people, and that's what happened with his friend. And he all of a sudden got ahead of himself, thinking that he was the one that made himself who he was, forgetting where the actual story came from. You understand? And to the extent that he actually wanted to even take, he wanted to almost take, wanted to take everything from Lakule, even his own woman. And that also speaks ill, also defines of our parents that when sometimes they can be bad judge of characters because there's always this thing that your parents know better or know best, but sometimes they don't actually know anything, to be honest, because they thought that his friend was a better character than Lakule himself, and if not for um, um, the woman, she being the true source of judge of character, she would have been swept away by the facade of wealth and his fake character. Um, Everything that's not literally that it was. I smiled throughout the entire movie. I liked how awkward their love story was, especially when she came to visit him. So yeah, so there's a saying sometimes that we guys think that now us they pursue women, but if a woman likes you, that she they pursue you. You understand? So, and I liked how evident that was in this movie because regardless of what everyone was thinking and saying about this other guy, she knew who she liked and she pursued him relentlessly, and that was very very good. Thank you.
Thank you, T.
Well, now, yeah, host.
Sorry. I'm just gonna say, T and Elizabeth have said they like the vagueness of the time period. I think stressed me out.
Yeah, I think we had that discussion between ourselves where I was like, I actually enjoy because I just see it as a type, almost kind of like Game of Thrones. We don't ask what time Game of Thrones was set in. It's just a time. Yeah, that's what I see this as. Is like I see it as just like a type of fantasy. Anyway, who are you picking next?
Mel's next. Mel, can you tell us what you liked? Oh wait, 1 second. Are you your hands up? Why is your hand up?
What?
Sorry. Until we move on to the next stage, Mel, please tell us what you liked about the Griot.
Hi, Mrs. C. Nice to see you on at the driver's seat. Anyway, I like the premise. I like the vagueness of the time period. But I like the time period. The way that I viewed it is there's a little bit of modernity as well, and I think that I saw that with the costuming. Some of the blouses the babes were wearing felt super modern. And so I viewed it as a sort of time capsule where outside of this really little community, like the world is moving on and they're using, I don't know, Elon Musk is mosking, like the world is happening. And then just here in this small community, it feels like we've been able to sort of trap time. I don't know. I just liked just how whimsical that interpretation felt to me. So I like the point of it. I like the premise of it. Storytelling is such a central part of our history. It doesn't feel like it these days, but it really truly is. Tales by Moonlight. We grew up on Tales by Moonlight, and our I used the NTA show, and our parents grew up on the one that happened at the square. Like it's such an intrinsic part of being Nigerian, and for many cultures, it's such an intrinsic part as well. I think that Yoruba, for instance, is a very oral culture. So like I loved how this is a thing that is the point of the movie. What else did I like? I liked Bose. I think that's her name, the younger sister. I thought she really captured being the last baby. Oh my God, she was so annoying. She did it perfectly. Her body language, I thought, came across really well. I personally thought she was my standout. I just really, every time I saw her on screen, even when she didn't have a lot of lines, she was doing what she was giving what needed to be gave. So I enjoyed her. Something I really, really liked oh so much is the story that Sonmi tells the king when the king is super sick. And it's a story about not outrunning time. I thought it was just well thought out to put that story there because this is the story that the king hears, and this is sort of what guides him back to health. And the way that I interpret it, the point of the story is you can't outrun time. And maybe the king was sick and feeling anxious about what comes next for him. But this story reminds him that you just make the best you make the best with whatever you have. I don't know the way I don't know, I just interpreted it as like just this just invigorating him to want to live as long as he can and just being okay if the end came. So I like that that is what they tell him when everybody thinks he's a goner. And I like that this is what he listens to the story and he there's a brief pause where like he's thinking about it. Like it really he really sits with it. I think I might have run out. I haven't thought about this as long as I should have. But those are the lights that come off the top of my head right now.
Awesome. Thank you, Mel. So she's telling me to nonsense.
No, I'm telling you, put them.
Thanks, Mel. Again, yes, the younger sister loved her. I've said it before, but she was irritated all the time. I thought it was brilliant. We have Fida next. Fida, I was a little worried when I didn't see you 20 minutes in. I thought you wouldn't show, so I'm really happy.
I was running late. Thanks for looking for me, though.
So, what did you like about the Griot?
Okay, please time me because I really wrote a lot. Thank you.
Okay, the timer.
Okay, thanks. I liked Lateef Adedimeji. I've always mentioned how I like him a lot, and I think I prefer him in calmer roles. I liked how he used body language to show his character. He was very convincing with that. The way he used his hands to fidget, even his expressions and hesitancy when speaking. One of my favorite scenes was the scene in which Tiwa's overdramatic mother goes to Lakunle's house to cause trouble and takes Tiwa away. The face Lakunle made as he stared at his father was something because they allowed a beautiful exchange to occur. I found that beautiful because first of all, the face, then his father telling him softly not to cry. And it was a scene that made me know that I liked the way their relationship was displayed. It showed one of love and ease between father and son, but most importantly, understanding. There was no forcing of Lakunle to be what he wasn't. I loved Lakunle's dad, great character and so supportive of his son. Loved him in the Imo Fair, loved him even more now. I especially liked the scene where he made sure Tiwa waited in the living room while with Lakunle till he came back. I like the actor that plays Somi. He was really good in his narration of stories and even his acting too. He kind of acted and spoke distinctly like someone that had experience with acting on stage. I loved Goodness Emmanuel. In fact, I thought her name was Goddess because I was transfixed by her completely. Her smile, her acting, her singing, her character. I liked how her character saw through Somi and didn't fall for his antics, even opting to speak up for Lakunle when it came to Somi's manipulation. I like seeing Tiwa and Lakunle's relationship develop, watching her have patience to navigate his timid nature, which enabled her to know he actually had feelings for her despite Somi's antics. I liked what I saw with their relationship, the understanding, the ability for Lakunle to grow comfortable around her, the scene of them singing together, somewhat matching in outfits. I liked the song they sang, her teaching him how to tell stories confidently, and how she made it clear she didn't like Somi and didn't fall for any of his tricks. I also like the idea of them being a couple that told stories and sang together. It seems super fun. I love the two friends of Somi. You know, there are always these two random characters in a play or in a movie that are just funny. And I like them. They were very good. I liked how Somi's character was shown through the dialogue, him wanting fame and him also being arrogant and selfish. I also liked how they used Somi and Lakunle's relationship to show a couple of lessons, such as being careful of who you take as a friend, having boundaries and knowing your worth, because some people are very happy when you don't have either, as they can take good advantage of it. And when people are taking from you, they never focus on your well-being. They will only focus on obtaining all that they can, because I found that Somi had gall and audacity for him to try and move to Tiwa, all because of his own plans for fame, for a gift he didn't even have. It just confirmed that lesson that I've always known. I loved Bosse. I loved her. I connected to her. I loved everything about her acting. Gorgeous girl as well. I loved the relationship between the Kabiesi and his chief. They had chemistry and once again an understanding of each other. I liked the scene when the two of them were taking a walk and the Kabiesi had so many people greeting him along the way. I like the scenes of the Masquerade Festival and the scenes of people weaving baskets and doing other distinct activities. I really like the scene of the fisherman walking through the river, or the scene of the woman grinding pepper on stone. I liked how they inserted Yoruba here and there. It flowed, making the dialogue more interesting. I liked how during the scenes filmed at each character's home, there was always someone in background doing something like hanging clothes or walking past. It made me feel like the communal space, it made me feel like it was a communal space. I love the structure that they use as the houses. I also like the detail of the fading paint on the walls and a lot of the set design. I liked a lot of the costuming. Lastly, I loved one of the final scenes where they all convened at the King's Palace. It gave the film the feeling of a stage play on film, and I really liked it. Thank you. Good for time.
Thank you, Fida. That was great timing. Barely 4 minutes. So well done. All right. For anyone who doesn't want to speak but wants to share their thoughts, you can respond to the space or tweet #Nollywood Film Club, and we can read your tweets. Also, you can rate the Griot on Nolly Data. It is on the space.
It's pinned on the
It
space.
is pinned on the space.
That's well done. You're doing a good job.
Thank you, Mr. C. Okay, so up next we have She Who Remains. Hello. Do you want
Hi.
to talk about the Griot?
Yes. Hi. I just have a couple of things that I'm only going to just say the things that haven't been said. I agree with a lot of what has been said. Two things that I really like. I enjoyed the King's character. It felt like they didn't. I feel like I mean, maybe it's because of some of the similar movies that we've seen lately. Election Oba, the one with the thief. Anyway, but like this, it was not all about this king, right? Like he was an important character and part of this, but it didn't overly center royalty, which I really liked. The other thing that I liked in the storytelling of this is, I don't know, I'm just gonna call it like something that a lot of movies do, which is like this immaculate conception kind of thing, right? Where you spend half the movie telling us someone is shy, and then all of a sudden, this girl interacts with him, and now he is confident and swagtastic and all of these things. I like that they didn't go that line, right? Like that route, right? Like on screen, we see, like he's working on it, and he's eventually able to like tell the story in front of all these people. But I appreciate the like choice not to show him telling that final story. Like we just know that he's awkward, and then he gets there and he tells the story, and now it's done. And I wonder if other people liked or didn't like that. But I just thought it was a really neat way of showing, because then you don't have this on-screen, because obviously the actor can do it because he's not actually shy, but you don't have this just miraculous transformation. The last sort of story thing that I liked was about Lakule's character, how content he was, like he didn't go ape shit on his friend until his friend tried to take something he had. It's sort of this like, look, you get to have all these things. I'm fine with just feeding you stories, making my show okay, and loving the girl that I love, right? Like, and it's when he threatened that one part of it that he and his friend, sort of had this things went haywire. I like that, because I think that, again, there's a lot of different ways you can take that storyline. Like he could have started getting jealous about his friend having all these things, but he's like, look, I'm content in my life. I just want to, do my job, whatever, get the girl, and only when you threaten those things is there a problem. So those are some of the things I really liked that stood out to me in how the story was told. But overall, big fan of the movie. That's it.
Thank you. Yeah, I do like that. It was just he just told the stories, right? And he just told stories to his mate. He had his own thing going. He wasn't fussed about the fame or anything. It was when Homeboy tried to take his girl that, and he realized Homeboy was actively trying to take his girl. That's when there was a problem. So I like that direction that the story took. Paraventure, I feel like it's a long time no see.
No speak.
Long time no
Yeah,
speak. Yeah.
on this end.
So
But actually no, we had him last time and he came right at the end.
right at the end. Okay. Hold on here. All right. Okay,
Yeah,
Paraventure.
I was there last week though. Not too long. Um, but I think I agree with most of what everyone has said. It really is a very neat, simple story told, largely very well. I like the pacing. The pacing for, let's say, up to the 95th or the 95th percentile minute, however you want to call it, was actually very confident. It wasn't rushed for the most part. And then when you juxtapose it, which is why I'm actually wanted to talk, when you juxtapose it with what we saw last week, the manipulative, cynical Tosh that that we discussed last week, it just, and I remember last week when I said, the kind of stories we tell just needs to evolve a bit. Last week was just aping things that went, natural, and it showed. This week was it was just you could tell someone was writing a story that was within them. It was inspired. And I mean, I don't want to go on about AU. And I also don't want to go about Amofe. I know a lot of people like Amofe. I thought that was just a bit too bleak. That one wore its artistry a bit too much on its sleeves. This one wasn't fast. It was very simple. You could almost tell it was someone having fun. I'll just write this. The language, especially as well, was quite good, insofar as it's not as good as, say, how Chinua Achebe used to be able to evoke Igbo-ness, even while writing English. You could create this Igbo atmosphere even when he's writing pure English. You could almost get a sense of Yoruba-ness, if you like, in this film, I thought. Even though the English was very conk in places, it just never strayed away from, this is a Yoruba-ish film. I like that a lot as well. So, I mean, most people have said many of the good things about it. I really liked it, and hopefully it will be a lesson to our American, people that seem to be so influenced by Hollywood that they can't just imbibe or exhibit some kind of Africanness, even when, just to compare some of the films I'm talking about. So you talk about, I remember I spoke about Who's the Boss, the Englot film, and even when they spoke pidgin in many parts, it just never could shed that this was an American film in Nigerian garments. This film, on the other hand, speaks English all through, but it still felt very Nigerian. And, it's to its very great credit that it does that. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, I think we've heard from all our speakers today.
Do you want to give Oyinka a
Oh yeah,
bite?
Oyinka, do you wanna tell us why your hands up?
Faida, thank you again for speaking for me. I love, everything she said was amazing. So there was no need for me to talk anymore, All
right, great, thank you. Vanessa, hands up, what's up?
Sorry, I just felt like it would be out of character. I'm usually someone to speak on people's beauty, and I didn't speak on anybody's beauty in my life, so I feel a little like, am I all right?
Speak on beauty.
Thank you. Goodness. Gorgeous. I see women. No. Women, black women, Nigerian women were fine.
That's right.
I was just looking at goodness. I was like, just a beautiful girl, more Rebbe Costard. Her skin is just glowing. Another beauty I must comment upon. As annoying as Somi was, Somi is a fine man, yo. When he showed up on the screen, I'm like, Haba. Baba, what a wonderful young man. Very nice looking. I'm sorry. We like seeing good things on screen. See, the way the camera was just on Somi's face. Even when he wore those his new clothes after being called the chief by the when he just the clothes just stood on his body. Beautiful man. In fact, if not because he's an annoying person, he and Tiwa, they do go together. Oh. Look, two beautiful people. Haba. Gorgeous. I'm sorry, I just needed to do this because I kept thinking about I'm like, Somi is a fine man. Character aside.
Melissa, you've killed me.
I'm sorry, it's the way we all said Kiloruko Super Boy and Alikulapo. What's that his foolish name?
Saro.
Saro was a hey. Somi no. Omo rewa. Abba. No. Beautiful people. Goodness. Like Fida said, goddess. Gorgeous. Just
Thank you, Vanessa. All right, Mr. C, do you want to go first and tell us your life?
Oh, me? The
Yes,
grace.
me.
Oh, my goodness. It's so nice.
Start the timer.
Okay, wow. So you're going to time me?
That's right.
Okay, all right. All right, so I agree with what a lot of people have said about Latif's performance. No need to go over it. He's pretty great. But as nobody has given goodness her flowers, I'm going to do it.
Mhm.
I thought Tiwa was really good. I thought there was it's such an integral character that I love these things. If you don't buy that this is a woman, what's good? Like sometimes you see these things and you're like, why?
Yeah.
Why? What is in this person that you are killing yourself for? And Tiwa is both, actually both like she's this person with a beautiful voice and looks like no need. Vanessa has already done the best description of her than I can ever do. But her character was great. The performance was also great. Like there were moments where she had to be loving. There were moments where she had to be a little bit coy. There were moments where she was a little bit aggressive, and all of them had a nice through. I believe it was the same person who was going through all of these emotions, right? It didn't just like flick on like a switch. First off, I just need to address Paraventure. How dare you talk about the only perfect move?
Oh my god.
Aimofe. All right. Okay, that's done.
Mhm.
But speaking of Aimofe, nice to see the Aimofe crew do a return.
Back again.
Imo from Aimofe, Rita from Aimofe, Toyin from Aimofe, and also Goodness from Aimofe. Obviously, they brought some of those juices. All right, I'm joking. All right, but yes, it's the actors. It's like a ensemble of great actors, and those the drunks that were my fellow drunk. My fellow drunkards. No, there are actually some really funny lines in this. The people at the I'm gonna go with Bami shop, but it's not that. But whatever, the people and his friends. I can't remember what's his name. I forgot his name. Sumi, yes. Sumi's close friends who abandoned him in his time of need. But I thought those guys were really funny. I thought they were
funny.
I thought they were, and in a way that wasn't. Yes. There are a lot of things that I took away from this that I think is just enjoyable. I even think, even with its simplicity, I think there were it made a couple of bold choices. I thought introducing us with Sumi as like your villain, as the first like person, the person you see was a bold. I thought was a bold choice because it's easy to empathize with the first person you see on screen.
but like the way it worked with this is that at least made you see a side to Sumi first, and then you watch your emotions change when you learn that he's a rotten bastard. That is not even what the creativity that we've been seeing. Um, Also, because a lot of people have been doing it, I said I would do my own shading other films. Yeah.
Oh my god.
No. I thought Sumi was a better Saru than Saru. All right.
Fair.
I
Yeah.
think in a time where you want to show somebody who was flying too close to the sun, like believing your own bullshit a little, or like feeding into your own thing a little too much, where like they showed him sort of he because Latif has been timid all his life. Like, oh, what's he gonna do? He's timid, like I'm the one with the swag and the everything. And they showed him a womanizer. One of the first things he does after he does the storytelling is he goes and he takes two women just because his greed is there.
Yeah.
And he's the one making the action. It ain't just happening to him. He's taking the actions. So that later on, when he becomes more greedy and starts doing more things, I'm not surprised. It's not out of nowhere. It's been very much foreshadowed and set up nicely from the beginning. So yes, I liked all those things in it, and yeah, I think that's about it. Oh, one more thing. Reminiscent of old Nollywood, I thought, in a good way. There's sometimes, like, when if you watch old Nollywood, whenever we have like an event, burials, birthdays, we'll actually show you a huge chunk of the celebration, because we'll do the celebrations, we'll do the events, right? And especially if it's not something quite novel, like, I don't know, just some house party, right? Where you need to show everybody dancing and all of that, right? We don't need 2 minutes of excuse me. We don't need 2 minutes of that. But both of the festivals that they show in this, I was so happy to see all of it, and the time and they took in making sure that it was a festival, and it felt like it, because like it's introducing you to is a world with its own rules, and all of that. So yes, the I like the way it introduced you to the world. I thought that it did that well. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. C. I don't really have much to follow. But yes, there were a lot of things I really enjoyed about the Griot. Like Mr. C said, I thought his friends were really funny. They had so many banger lines, honestly. So many lines were bangers. But I can't remember a lot of them. But when she came back home from her mom, when she came back home from seeing Lakunle's character, from seeing Lakunle, and her mom was ready to go into her, right? And she's there still following up with, yes, I went to see Romoke. It's like, no, you're in for it now. And it was just like really nice ways of showing stuff, right, that you could really get into, which I thought were great. I really liked the characterizations. Lakunle's shyness. I remember telling Mr. C, because Mr. C pointed out that, he couldn't look at this girl yesterday, right? And we're showing him teasing her that her head is too big and heavy for his hand. I was like, yeah, but that's the thing with shyness, right? Is if you get comfortable, then you're comfortable. But because I had a friend who was a vibe in girls' hostel, and outside would put her hand next to her face to walk past the group. She was that painfully shy outside. So Lakunle's character's shyness made all of the sense. Latif, great actor. And I think he's so good, which is, again, what everyone has said. It really annoys me when they make him play characters like the one he played in Progressive Tailors Club. Pisses me off, because he has so much talent, and we should be channeling it in places like this. Tiwa, great. I really bought that she was into him. It was the way she'd smile at him, give him a bit of extra attention. It was like, yes, I can buy that. She's into him. I think it was T that mentioned, like, her chasing him is like she was chasing him without chasing him, because of the traditional setting. She can't go, hey, I like you, what's up? It's giving him chances and openings and opportunities, which I thought was great. Sumi's characterization as well, brilliant. two things that were kind of brilliant that he did, right? Giving her half message, right, by the water when he met her. So when his friend asked her, "Did he give you my message?" Of course he did. He told her this guy said he was sorry he came to the festival. And he could honestly say, "Oh, it was the king that suggested Tiwa as a wife to me. I didn't ask the king for Tiwa specifically." Brilliant. It shows that he's a scheming person. It was in line with his characterization as a schemer. Relationship between Lakunle and his father, I thought was great. Toyo Shinaike, I love him. He's one of my favorites, and honestly, I've seen him in every role I've seen him in recently has had its own character, right? I'm not seeing the same person just doing the same thing. He really just interprets it, and I thought that was great. I thought it was nice to see that father-son relationship. We've had a few films like, I'm gonna name drop another one, like everybody has been doing, Collision Course, the father and son. It felt like they barely knew each other, right? And this one, we have a father and son relationship where they had a relationship, and I kept shouting, "This is your wingman. Stop asking Sumi to help you speak to this girl. Your father is ready. He will do it for you." And like, his father was wingmanning him. His father was great, and always giving him the looks, and there's the way he spoke to him, and you could see that he was so proud of him as well. Like, despite him having this thing that everyone thought was a flaw, he just, he was just always so super proud of him, which was really great to see. It was really nice to see. So I really enjoyed a lot of the characters. I thought it was great. Despite me saying the vagueness of the time period stressed me out, I did like a lot of the costume. I loved the makeup, the the thin eye pencil drawn straight across and down. I thought that was great. Yellow eyeshadow. I really enjoyed all of that. It gave good village vibes. But yeah, I really, really liked the love story. I thought it was so cute. I'm like, by the time they fall in love and they're singing to each other and that, I'm like, okay, I'm done with this movie now, right? Let's not. Why am I seeing an extra hour? You people want to scatter this relationship. I don't like it. End it now. Let's move on. So I did really enjoy the romance, the falling in love. I thought it was so cute. I think Mr. C mentioned Tiwa moving between different characterizations. Like, she's running from her mother, scared of her mom, right? She's showing some backbone. She's meek, but she's in love, and she's showing some strength. When Sumi's character meets them for the first time, she's the one that's giving him attitude, like, get out of here. So I thought that was great as well. But yeah, there are a lot of things I really enjoyed about this movie. Oh yeah, it felt like, I think you guys have mentioned stage play. For me, it felt more Tales by Moonlight, but in a good way. It's like my grandma telling me a story. It was, it's like, yeah, once upon a time, this happened and this happened. And it really felt like that. Like, I was sitting down to listen to someone tell me a story, which sounds like a weird good, because every film is supposed to be telling you a story. But yeah, if you've ever sat down and listened to someone tell you a once upon a time story, this is exactly how it felt like. So, yeah.
All right. Well done.
Okay, so we cross over to the bad.
But before that, you can tell them about what they want to, if they want to have their voices heard, but they don't want to speak.
So if you're feeling a little laconly this evening and you don't want to speak on Spaces, you can respond to the space or tweet your thoughts with #Nollywood Film Club, or DM us if you fancy, and we will read your tweets out to you. But we will not steal your woman, we promise. To start us off with the bad, I'm going to go first and steal what everybody needs to say. But I'm starting off with the bad now, and I'm moving to the bad.
Yeah, but why are you starting off?
I'm starting one small thing. I'll not take the whole thing. Okay, it's not really taking off with the bad. I'm just saying that I'm so glad that the film ended, where Tiwa's parents were apologizing to Lakunle. That was such a beautiful ending. It was great.
Wow. Okay, this is why you don't host. You don't take the sweet things from the.
I not take. Did I say it? I not say it.
All right.
I not say it.
Okay. All right. Who are you giving to start?
Okay, we'll start with who started us off, innit? Vanessa.
Hi. I like when you host. I really do. I'm sorry, because it doesn't matter if I start first. Mr. C never lets me start the bad first. And I'm like, why?
Mr.
I like this. This should happen more often. We like when Mrs. C hosts. Mr. C, shush. My bad. I'm gonna segue off of Mrs. C. I feel very personally offended that that the last 10-15 minutes of the film happened. Honestly, I wish somebody had warned me before so that I will end the film where my heart will be happy. I've said this multiple times. It's one of the reasons why I avoid scary movies, unnecessarily sad tragedies. I don't like hard things. This life is hard. I like soft things. I like things that make me happy. And this film was making me happy. And then all of a sudden, you just come from nowhere and you use guillotine and chop off my happiness. It's not fair. I genuinely take it very personally. I was having a good time seeing people fall in love and enjoy their love and seeing Tiwa stand up for her man and her man stand up for himself in front of the king. I was like, honestly, I just felt like everyone has said this film felt like a Tales by Moonlight telling. And like when Mrs. C said Once Upon a Time, I said time. And Once Upon a Time story, it do end happily ever after. That is how Once Upon these not Romeo and Juliet. We don't keep people in Once Upon a Time. We have happily ever after. How do you now Once Upon a Time and they don't happily ever after? It just felt like, I'm sorry, it just felt like a disconnect. A Tales by Moonlight. There's lesson. When people are finished learning the lesson, the good people, good things happen to the good people. Nobody's dying unnecessary death. Genuinely, honestly, I was heated. I was very heated when I watched that ending. And my other dislike, and this is no indictment on the actor who plays Somi. Like I said, he's a beautiful man, very gorgeous. Is he single? Do you know if he's married? But I think he's such a. I don't know. This is me assuming. I think Elizabeth has said he's a stage player, stage actor, and I think it was a bit obvious. He was not the most comfortable doing what's the word, film work. Like all the other actors obviously are like film actors and they just felt more comfortable. I don't know, it was inconsistent. It wasn't a bad performance, but he had highs and lows. So it's not like it's a bad per se, but it was just inconsistent. And sometimes his performance threw me off. But it's not a bad that's I would be bad. It was an inconsistent performance. What else was a bad that I didn't like? I know everybody is saying, no time period made you feel, oh, this is a word separate unto itself. Honestly, time period was stressing me out. I'm so sorry. I do like having, but this is a personal thing. I do like having precise timing. Honestly, it just helps me. I don't know. It just helps me feel like I'm a much more stronger part of this world. Because why is your buba the way your buba is? If this is a Ayatijo story, or are you a modern day auntie? I know even the music that they did sing, right? The song that they sang. I was wondering, hold on, yo, what's this song? What time period are they singing this song in? She get me, Ben. I was like, it really stressed me out. So everybody that I say, time period, vagueness, they like vagueness. Me, I don't like vagueness. I like precision. I like precision. I prefer when I can tell. It's like we remember when we were watching a Man of God. Everybody was complaining, "But what time period is this?" I just granted that had a lot more issues because they tried to definitely tell us this was in the past, but they didn't tell us when in the past. This obviously didn't do that, which is where I guess it can be a positive for others because it didn't tell you, okay, time wasn't a construct in this. But on a personal note, it just affected my enjoyment of the story. I know people say I don't have an issue with the fact that it was mainly spoken in English. However, I don't know. I feel like I would rather the stories had been told in Yoruba. Like, cause there were sprinkles of Yoruba in this, and like a number of the characters were speaking Yoruba here and there. I don't mind that English was the main language for this. Honestly, I don't care because a number of our stories, even back in days, have been told in Yoruba. Stage plays have been performed in English. I mean, so this wasn't a problem. I just feel like I would have enjoyed. I don't know. You know how when Yoruba people tell stories, there's a certain life that the language gives these stories. There are certain, I don't know, there's certain things, and it also affects the way we tell stories with our bodies, right? Because Yoruba people are very evocative, emotive. We talk with our bodies, right? And I just feel like storytelling. You know how Somi was portrayed to be and was purported to be this master storyteller. And a huge part of being a master storyteller is also in, the body language, the movement with which they tell these stories. And I just feel like telling those stories in Yoruba would have made it just come alive more. But that's a personal thing. Honestly, I don't have a lot of bads. I really enjoyed it. Only that ending. I know Nollywood have a problem with third act. Atisobe. And that last couple minutes, everybody, if you are gonna watch the grill, don't watch the last 15, 10 minutes. Just stop. Honestly, just stop where it's happy so that you will sleep well.
Okay. Thanks, Vanessa. I mean,
yeah, I was just gonna say 6 minutes on the dot.
yeah, well done. 6 minutes on the dot.
Timekeeper,
Accurate
as
timekeeper.
Sorry, who's go on?
No, I was gonna say we had the warning for the ending. I think we've seen people tweet complain about the ending. So I was thinking, but I couldn't do it, right? Because Film Club, I couldn't just stop about 6 minutes to the end. So I was just preparing myself. I'm like, all right, okay, what are we gonna do now? So I was ready, and I ended it where I wanted it to end in my mind. So
Yeah, just before you want to go, a task can go after me. I that ending for me, and like Vanessa mentioned it being soft, which I'm sure she is. Who am I to speak on of your heart and your marshmallowness? But I'm a guy who doesn't mind sad things from time to time. I just don't feel it was earned. It just felt tacked on. That was my issue with it, is that it felt like it wanted a sad ending. Because like if you just remember, like there's the point where a lot of people want to end it, where so from that point where like he says the thing about, hey, tells the story.
Mm-hmm.
Then they bring him back, which banish him. Is like, my guy was on my way out. Banish me out. So like they call you into their house to kick you out of the house. Anyway, but and 3 months, just 3 months later, he's been stewing. I guess he's been stewing over it, and then it just happens. The things just happens, and it's just no care or any the care that it had in setting up everything else from in the film is just that's not in the last 15 minutes. It's just, I gotta kill you now because I guess it will have some more emotional impact. That's my problem with it, that it does not feel earned.
And despite his dodginess, I didn't get that he was going to kill. I feel like he could grow to that eventually.
Certainly didn't.
But it didn't. Yeah,
Well, he didn't actually kill. It was accidental.
Yeah. But what was the plan?
Yeah, but that feels cheap as well. Yeah.
Okay. So Otas, tell us what you didn't like about the Griot.
Sure. But before I do that, I think that every time I hear pushback about time periods, it's always so funny, especially when the time period doesn't add anything to the story. It's like, I don't know why people insist on it, but that is my little segue. Like you are going to hear today a lot, and you've already heard the end sucks. I don't feel like I need to expand much more on that point. For me, the best part of the movie is the story. As long as the story and the plot makes sense, I'm happy to excuse the rest of it. And it feels like they spend all this time building this world and building this story and building these characters and building their motivations. And they just throw that end in there in a way that is so careless. It ruins, for me, the story almost completely. And it does it in such a way that I know I will never be able to watch that movie again. Just like I know that I can't ever watch Game of Thrones again, even though season 1 to whatever is great. And season 8 is just whatever. Um, and then Sumi's character is inconsistent, in part because of the end. He's established throughout the story. Yes, he's otherwise smart and calculated. His ruthlessness, not ruthlessness, his selfishness and over ambition is very well laid out and foreshadowed through the story. But he just at some point starts to come off really stupid. It just feels really obvious to everyone watching that there's just no way he believes that he can get the girl and the story. Like, it's just impossible. And he just never seems to pivot from that point. Which made him seem a lot less smart than he had been portrayed throughout the story. While yes, he is womanizing and all of that fun stuff, settling down just didn't seem like something that was such a big goal for him enough to want to throw away the whole life that he had built. Even after the king decreed it, it was still very clear that his friend was not going to give her up. I don't know why we went down that part. So again, to Somi, there's a part of the story where it seems like he's almost out of the village, where he's like trying to tell the guy coming in from a neighboring village the way to the square. And he seems like he's escaping and is almost out. And then they just randomly find him and bring him back to the square. So he gets that little comeuppance and is banished and whatever else. It felt forced. However, I didn't mind it as much. However, at the end, when they have that story where he then murders someone, for a story that cares that much about comeuppance and everybody getting their dues, in that manner, where he just murders someone and that's the end of the story, it's just dumb, because it seemed like it was more important to them to address the story stealing and the deceit than the murder that has now happened at the end, which is obviously more intriguing because you have to explain how we get to this point. But most of my problems really start at the end and work their way back up.
Okay, thanks, Otas.
You want to talk about timing?
I did want to talk about timing. I just want to say also, Mr. C refused to time you at the start because he's like, oh, well, never time Otas.
Yeah, she doesn't use her 6 minutes.
Anyway, I think I was going to say about the time period, right? I know the time period doesn't really add to the story, but there are bits in there that distract someone like me, and which I think are part of the things that would distract Vanessa as well. Is one thing was the outfits, right? The costume timing felt so inconsistent, because I'm seeing them wear these.
Inconsistent with what?
With each other.
Okay, all right.
Right, the costumes times were clashing with each other, because they're wearing this. Tiwa's tying the buba, then she's wearing the short dresses with the button down. That's like 2000s. But then I saw someone in the crowd with one lace dress, those Ankara and then lace that used to be really popular in like this is the 2010s, late 2008s, and it just seemed really out of place. And it's just that clash was really stressful for some of us.
And maybe I could relate because that's how I dress. I dress like my outfits are clashing from different times. Maybe that's it.
What I have to live with. Elizabeth, please tell us what you didn't like about the Griot.
Okay, I think everybody has talked about the tragedy. Honestly, I don't even have a problem with tragedy rather, because honestly, when you watch Asian cinema, they have this thing that they do where they just pepper the story with tragedy. So just go and cry. I figured that's what they were going for, right? I mean, since it was a simple story, tragedy is the next tag on. But like Otta said, I think it was the lack of payoff. So, I mean, if the story was going to end tragically, yes. I mean, it's tragic, we'll cry. Overall, the story is about Somi and Lakunle, and how Somi is just greedy for whatever Lakunle has. I mean, that's the way I've interpreted it, because it didn't seem as though he was greedy with story, because that arrangement worked. But we saw the foreshadowing when the mother said, keep some gift for Lakunle. It's like, oh, Lakunle has enough. And then we have the girl issue. And then Somi killed the girl. So what now? I think it was that I did the first time I didn't watch it, Sha. I ended when he held the knife to till I'm like, yeah, to God be the glory, I'm out. But because of this, I'm like, yeah, let me go and continue and finish. And I realized that the payoff is not, it wasn't there. At least there are some tragedies that happen. You're like, wow, that's so sad. But well, overall, it just changes the direction of the story. It's like, okay, so this story is tragic. This is tragedy. We'll take it like that. But for some, it's like, so what now exactly is this Griot? The Griot that went ahead and killed people, and what? So I think that's what everybody has a problem with, because it's not consistent with all the foreshadowing that's been happening. Well, what maybe he had killed and then killed himself and killed Lakunle. In fact, if everybody in the entire Wakajaye or whatever, if they had died, I'm like, yeah, it's God be the glory. This is I'm out. But it just, the payoff was just not there. And then another thing I didn't like, I mean, I'll say the pacing was all right, but at the same time, there were times that I felt like the pacing could have done better. And I think, again, I mentioned one of my bad, though it might seem like it is not necessary to hear Lakunle say that story at the end of the day. But you know why it is necessary? It's because there was a build up to showing us that Lakunle overcame his shyness. Now, it's a different thing if there was no working towards that, overcoming the shyness, overcoming speaking in public to people. But a lot of people, you've built our expectations with the montage showing Tiwa, basically Lakule studying. We've seen him try to tell a story when he was telling Somi. So we know that his own style is different. Probably lacks the flair for flamboyance and all the gesticulation, but we want to see how he does it. And then next thing, they show Somi running away, like the cow that is. Next thing, people are clapping, like, yes, this story sounds similar to what Somi. I'm like, what the heck? What stories? What? Why did I not hear the story by myself? Why are you telling me sounded like story that Somi used to tell? What is this? Why did you build my expectation towards this nice last story and then you robbed me of it? I think that was, in fact, that's even a bigger injustice for me than the tragedy that they tagged on. Like, that was so unfair. We've seen this guy. I even started preparing with him at some point. But yeah, we're robbed of that. And then they're like the technical issue. And that's why I mentioned part of it. Like, if they had like a bigger budget, they would have been able to do, something better, even at scale. Maybe the sound here, a little bit of, actually was mostly sound. What else? Did I not like? Honestly, I really enjoyed this film, that I really did not focus on a lot of. But yeah, I thought Yewande, that her name, Kudi Klepto. Yes, I thought she was overacting a lot. I don't know if that was what she was told to do. And I know she can do Soto, because I've seen her in Iroko movies, and I know she could maybe do better than that. But the overacting, so maybe she was good for stereotypical Yoruba woman. But it didn't fit in that world, because nobody else was acting like that, right? So it's a different thing if that she was. It's a different thing if everybody has been giving melodramatic performance like way before. So we'll know, like, okay, maybe this is Chidi Chikere asking people to just go over the board. But at this point, it was that every other person was giving subtle performances, like a well-measured performance, and then they just threw her in there like a whirlwind, and it was taking me out, even though I liked what she was saying, but it was just not consistent with the directing of every other character in there. So she stood out like a sore thumb. What else did I not like? I think that's about that for me for now. Yeah, okay. I did. Maybe it was because it was the first, that story that Somi told the first time. I played it twice because I didn't even get it, and I was like, Somi, this guy is just Bobo Gista. I don't think he's as good as he is. But then after that, but apart from that, but after that, every other story he told, it came correct. But that first part, I was like, nah, you're very suspect.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I think I remember Mr. C going, wait, what were the options again?
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, in fairness, it's very much in not the quality, by the way, but the way the story panned out. It very much feels like this Tale by Moonlight story, or
Yeah.
those kind of folktale stories, which I like. But yes, I didn't feel the options like that. I was like,
I think the options are very fair
yeah,
or distinct
yeah. The
or
one
optional.
it just didn't feel like one road would lead you. Usually, one road should lead you down a way that is tempting, but
But you
but you shouldn't
shouldn't
do.
do.
Another road should lead you towards like more peace, but mundane, but like not as exciting as the first one. Usually, but whatever. The way everybody loved it, I was like, all right, I get it. You guys like the story. Move on.
Yeah. Also, I do agree with Elizabeth on feeling a bit robbed of the final story. Yeah, I think especially for all that build up, it's like, I don't know, it's like watching one of those. What we were watching the other time where they were practicing dodgeball to save their
dodgeball.
Yeah, it was
dodgeball.
Yes, it was. It's called dodgeball.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Whoops. And it's like, imagine we saw them do all of the practice, right? And then we don't see the dodgeball tournament. We just see them getting the trophy. That would have been quite disappointing. So I agree with that. So we have Oyinkan next. Can you tell us what you didn't like about the Griot?
Yes, so I agree with everybody. The ending felt I was like, where did this tragedy come from? And I kind of want to know when they were writing, because the writer of the screenplay. I'm like, what? You seem to actually be setting up a lot of things, and if you feel you're set up all the time, then how did this come out of nowhere? The only thing I can say, even yes, the same thing with Somi's character. I can see that they wanted to do something because it goes to the Baba Ifa, and the Baba Ifa tells him that he's been like tapping from a well that is not his own, and it doesn't like replace the well with water, and like it's about to basically warn him. Somi realizes like the tragedy. Somi can be a tragic figure without killing the girl. I don't know why they killed the girl. There's still a tragic figure in Somi there. I don't understand it, but like I can get, but then you just have him lose everything. Lose his. He gets to leave his mother, his family. We saw him do that. We saw him try to leave the town. We saw him lose all of that, and that could be the tragedy. And the story is set up for that, and I don't understand how Somi's character is not somebody that would necessarily come back to try to kill his friend. I mean, he's selfish, is all that, but like killing the friend that just became more famous makes no sense. It doesn't seem like that type of guy. He was already leaving anyway. And I don't know. Maybe he got a note, maybe the writer got a note from somebody and wanted to end it in this magical way. Sometimes you get notes. Whenever you write screenplays or write, you get notes. And maybe that's what happened. I don't get it. I don't know what happened. In regards to time, I am of two ways of it. Yes. I love costume. I see costuming with time period. And I'm looking up and down. And I'm like, that's the time period is a little bit confusing with the costuming and everything. But I'm willing to accept it. I feel like it still does the sort of out of time that is sort of like pre-colonial, maybe not maybe straight out of the colonial time, maybe kind of still there, not pre-colonial, kind of around like colonial time or like just post-colonial, you know? it still gave like a semblance of it being just in something. So I'm willing to accept that. Yeah, it's definitely the ending. It's definitely the ending. It's definitely how like they sort of messed up Summy's character. And I feel like yes, they should have given us they should have shown us him telling the story. If they didn't want to show him telling the story, they could just have done the thing where they just like have actors act the story. You get what I'm saying? Have other actors act the story in like the as they did in the first part where they had the mermaid and stuff like that. They could have done that, and then we could have cut back to everybody. What's it called? Giving oh my God, Lakunle, clapping for Lakunle, all that. And just ended it without the girl dying. There was no necessity for the girl dying. You didn't write that, you didn't end that. And in fact, you had already, what you wrote, you already ended it. You already delivered the things that you wrote with the way having him just leave or having him receive punishment and ending. And even if you want to show me afterwards, you can show him like suffering, or you can show him apologizing, or maybe there's a way to mend the friendship, or give that one sort of something of ending the friendship, or something like just him learning to speak. There were those two things that I feel like the writer wrote for. The writer did not write for Adek. I feel like that I feel like somebody told him to put that in. Somebody ensured that he put that in. Because this writer seems competent. If that was supposed to be the ending, it would not or follow or lead up to that. That's my something. Or maybe I'm giving too much praise. Or maybe I'm thinking. I don't know.
No, thanks, Onyinka. I think Mr. C was just saying that, yeah, he thinks it sounds like a note, like not where the thing was supposed to end.
I don't know. I don't like speculating
Yeah.
on things. It did feel tacked on. It was part of what I was saying, where like it didn't feel earned, and it felt like it didn't belong to the rest of the films.
Yeah.
Like all the care and other things that were shown previously, it's possible like the story was going great, and I guess the writer was like, "Oh, I'm out of energy. I've used all my energy on all the good stuff, and let me give it this." I don't know.
That sounds like Village People.
Yeah.
Okay, so who we got next? Creative Fingers. Would you like to tell us what you didn't like about the Griot?
All right, thank you. The one thing I didn't like about this film is that I didn't dislike anything. So it's crazy because it feels like I'm the only one who understands all the choices of the writer. I felt like the ending was perfect. I felt like if it ended any differently, it would have dropped the film, in my opinion, because I felt like the characters didn't change. Even though we think Lakunle became confident all of a sudden, I just felt like he was still very reluctant, and he was even forced, So we would know that we can agree that some would have told the story better. And I really feel like that's why it was a perfect choice not to show Lakunle telling that story, because they would have tried to make sure rather that he told a good story. But then it would have conflicted, because why didn't he do this from the start? Why was he not doing this from the start? Right? So they just made us understand that at least there was still potential in the story. And we understand that because Somi tells Lakunle's story. So that the feeling everybody would feel when listening to Somi, they would feel it when listening to Lakunle, but differently, because Somi tells it differently, and with all the adjustments and everything. And then Somi on the other side didn't change, and I feel like that's what we're missing. He didn't change, and it says that he was supposed to acknowledge that the one thing that his muse wanted, which was Lakunle, was Tiwa, and he was supposed to leave that for him. From the beginning, they've been showing that this guy is feeling like he deserves everything, deserves more and more, and even 2 girls, 3 girls, right? Even his friends, girls. So now Tiwa is supposed to be, left alone. And then he goes, when the king even gives him the choice to pick anything in the world, it's Tiwa that his friends want for himself. So at the end, then he goes to see a seer because he's looking for a story, and then the seer tells him a parable about scooping from a cup and refusing to refill it. And for me, like I was saying, it symbolizes an artist and a muse. I'm a storyteller, right? And I know that yeah, I tell stories and I get inspired, and my inspiration comes from somewhere. And tomorrow, if my story is great and I receive all the praise and all that, I know my inspiration is coming from somewhere. I should give back to where it's coming from. And because he didn't understand this, he was covered by the greed. There was no way he could leave them and go and live a happy life, because now he has lost his wealth, he has lost his fame, he was put into shame. What do you want him to do? Just go somewhere and live a low life? The Somi we know that wants to have girls, more than 3 girls every week. He was definitely be bored. And the fact that he didn't kill that girl consciously was perfect. Perfect, because then if he had killed her consciously, would have just, like everybody's saying, just felt very odd. So it wasn't conscious. So even though he was still fighting his greed, but it wasn't conscious. And that was why it was perfect for me. So for me, perfect ending, perfect story. Thank you.
Thank you, Creative Fingers. I'm glad you think it was perfect. I do have some. I struggle with, or I don't necessarily agree with calling Lakunle Somi's muse, right? Because the script writer is not the actor's muse, right? The writers for a comedian are not his muse. You're performing someone else's work. You're not the muse. They're not your muse, rather, right? The person who writes for you to perform is not your muse. Your muse is where you draw inspiration from to create. So I don't.
And also, just the
Right.
point for the way it ends. My problem with the way it ends is that, like the other parts of the movie, anybody can say, "Oh yeah, I get that he went to." I don't know what the hell he was doing with the knife. I don't know what his plan was. I get that he went to do it. Okay, fine. It's fine if it works for you in your head. What I'm saying is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
the rest of the
Let me
movie, let me finish.
Right.
Let me finish this part. The rest of the movie does this thing really well, where it sets up everybody's motivation very clearly for you to understand, and it stops after the final after Latif does the final story.
Yeah.
When Sumi's plot to go do whatever I don't know what his plan is till now. I don't know what
the plan was.
What the plan was, to kidnap her and take. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it's madness. It does it off screen. It happens, fade to black. 3 months later, and we get Mad Sumi, who comes
which seems
to
inconsistent with how
I'm just saying
everything
nothing
else
else was set up. I'm not saying,
Yeah.
like, if it works for you, great.
Yeah.
That's what.
Yeah. Okay. So the point, sorry, I'm going to cut in, right? The point I'm trying to make is that for me, I feel like the protagonist is the storyteller, right? Even the griot means storyteller, and I feel like Somi is not the storyteller, and I feel like Lakunle is the storyteller, but Somi is also a part of the storyteller. Somi is not the storyteller alone. So it's two of them are the storytellers, right? And I felt like that scene where they didn't get what they wanted was very necessary, because they didn't change. They couldn't progress to understand that like for me to understand that I can have everything I want. The only thing I should do is leave Tiwa for Lakunle. Like everybody said, Lakunle was just wanted to live a simple life and all that. Now, you also said something, Mr. C. You said they built up everything. I agree with that. They built up everything. And that's the reason why they also built up that this guy is letting into his greed and is going to be consumed by it. And even when he faced the seer told him head on. I feel like we should go back to that scene and watch it again, right? He told him heads on, you have to do something. He refused and said, I don't understand. And angrily went away and then tried to come up with his own story from nowhere. And I felt like, so he didn't change as a character. So there was no way he could just go and suffer. I felt like that was just the reason why I will accept this ending. And like you said, because we didn't know what he had in mind when he was coming. We cannot say that he wanted to come and murder somebody because we're just using murder. And I feel like, no, we cannot say at first, right? At first, when I saw this film, I had the same sentiments. Oh, why did she die at the end? But I didn't understand I didn't feel when I understood it, I felt like that was the best. You know, at first I was giving this movie 2.5 because if Lankule is the main character, then I feel like the execution is poor. When I understood that the two of them are the main characters, then I saw that they did a very great job. Very great job. Right.
Vanessa, what do you want to say?
Yeah. I don't think any of the things you said sort of is a pushback against what I'm
you
saying.
said, yeah.
Yeah, it's just the thing is it's not set up. That's
my
it.
thing. That's what I want to say as well. There has to be a progression from covetousness to murderous, because you don't go from wanting what someone has to killing them overnight.
We didn't know you wanted to kill her. Have you forgotten that? That was
He
made
has a
clear.
knife to her throat. Okay, you
He
don't
has
go
a knife to
from
her
one
throat.
thing
What
someone
else?
has
Who
to
else do
brought
you
the
need to
knife
see that he wants to
somewhere.
kill
yeah,
her?
you're putting a note to
I'm
someone's throat, even if
confused.
you don't want to kill them.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
One by one.
Saying there has to be a progression, and especially because of how well everything else had been set up throughout this entire film, it just feels like an add-on, like a tack-on. Like it was unnecessary to add that if the same amount of detail wasn't going to be given to this. It seems like a weird thing to end a film on that hasn't been explored fully. You don't set up a character as wanting the best out of life for himself. You don't set up a character as being ambitious, as being incredibly selfish and covetous and wanting what someone else has, to being a murderer. Because even when he was about to be exposed, his first thought wasn't to go and kill Lakunle to prevent him from saying the truth about him. That wasn't his first thought. His first thought was to run away. So even if you are saying he sat in the woods or wherever he was for 2 months and stewed over the fact that he was exposed, prior to the banishment, he was still going to go away, wasn't he? He was running away. So was his plan always to come back? Those are the questions that arise from this rushed end. That's the issue that a lot of us have with it. It's not that it was there, it's that it wasn't set up.
For me,
There wasn't any progression that was laid.
We've spent. Oh, thanks,
right,
Vanessa.
it was
Creative Fingers. I'm going to
was
have
running
to move
away because
speaker. We spent so much time
Yeah.
on this.
Okay. Sure.
We've spent a lot of time on this. There will be a chance to belabor this point if we want to do it later on, but let's give everyone a chance to do their bads. I think Mel is next. Mel, would you like to tell us your bads? Mel?
Move on. I never liked her anyway.
Hater. Cynthia, please. Would you
Sorry,
like to
can you
tell us
hear
what?
me?
Oh, yeah, we can hear you now, Mel. Mel? Okay, Cynthia, you go. Let's see if Mel rejoins as a speaker, if that's going to work better. Cynthia, tell us what you didn't like.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so foolish me. Sorry, these are minor things. They're not like major things because I enjoyed the movie. So foolish me. The first story where they had the mermaid and everything. Because of how they took their time to build the characters and the storytelling. Stupid me felt that the story was about a main character in the movie. Anyways, back to my dislike. Yeah, I still had a problem with the set time. I do not like the bigness, and maybe it's because the clothes was distracting me, the footwear, and later I'm seeing some me packing, loading wrapper and tying it, even Tiwa's hair. So the time really, really took me out. I was trying to like put the time, and I took an average and gave it a 2000s. Then still minor, I did not have a problem with the language being English. It was just like even in the storytelling, I mean, it's their choice. It was just like few times where I felt the English was trying to be very, very soprano-ish, or the phonetics in the English. I think it was mostly Somi's character. It just took me out. Then, like everyone has said, or like Vanessa explicitly said, I really, really like Somi. Sorry, I like the actors. Sorry, someone is distracting me. I like the actor behind Somi is a very handsome guy. I shamelessly went to look for him on social media. But the Somi's I like Somi's character. Okay, I said it in my like, but the Somi's acting too was also not consistent. It took me out. Sometimes I felt he was just reading the script word for word. Um, then they had ADR issues, which was not really a big deal, as because the story was good for most part of it. So even though their voices were not matching, what's wrong with me today? Even though their voices were not matching the way their mouth was moving, it was not really a big deal. But for some time, it took me out, especially during the fight scene with Lakule and Somi.
Cynthia, you're on mute.
Oh my god. Yeah, so I don't know where I stopped.
Fight scene between Akunle and Somi.
Okay, sorry. Sorry for bad behavior today. So the fight between Lakule and Somi. So yeah, I know there was ADR issues then, but I also think there was also Steve. And when they started like throwing stones at each other, I started seeing their re-age. So yeah, these are really like minor issues. Then another minor issue that I did that I didn't even have a problem with at the beginning was, when we were watching the movie, the next thing we are seeing like random kids, in the villagers or random villagers. I didn't have an issue with this, but when the scene at Tiwa's house with her parents and Somi, and they were talking or they gave them money, and the next thing we're seeing a roasted bushmeat, and then we're back to the scene. So that was the only time the randomness took me out in the movie. Also, I kind of felt Tiwa was picked very easily by the king's assistant. Um, I don't still have an issue with it because I ended up liking Tiwa and Lankule's relationship in the movie, but I just felt like even though or after they pick someone as or after the king picks someone for marriage for his chief, I just felt she was also very free. But I enjoyed our relationship with Lakune anyways. Then I also did not understand was it a Sudeti or the chief priest or the seer? I did not understand how we got to that part of the movie. I just felt it was just thrown into the movie, and I was like, okay, what's going on now? So yeah, like everyone have said, the ending was a letdown. So like Elizabeth said, my major issue was not even the killing at the end. My major issue was Lakule's story, because when Lakule walked up to the king, my heart was beating. Like my heart was racing very fast. I had to pause the movie because I was like, okay, he's about to tell his story. But the court and later was seeing clap. I was waiting to see him tell his story. I was waiting to even see him struggle in telling the story for the first time in with that multitude of crowd, or that multitude, sorry. I was waiting to see Tiwa push him. I was waiting to see his father encourage him during that few struggle, and then him telling the story, and everyone is happy. So that was really the ending that really, really took me out in this movie. Even when he revealed himself to the king as the owner of the story, I felt like it was underwhelming. Everyone was just okay, let's continue. I don't know. I wanted struggle, action, denial, because I mean, if that was your chief, is coming to say it was the one telling the chief the story. Then I still don't understand why they banished Somi. Like, yeah, so my major issue is in this ending. When they bring in Somi and they're like, you're banished, I'm like, but I really did not steal the story, if we're being honest. Um the guy was giving him the story freely. It was when it was trying to like steal be greedy to take the girlfriend and everything changed. Then finally, surprisingly, I didn't have a problem with Tiwa dying at the ending. So, hey God, how am I going to put it? I did not have a problem with them wanting Tiwa. Like, if you're going to make the movie and Tiwa is to die, I did not have that problem. The problem I had was the build up to it. So I just felt like we didn't see the resentment or the anger from Somi's character that that is putting the blame and everything on Tiwa. So it's going to come back to like comfort Tiwa. So that was my problem. But if it was their choice to make a tragedy with Tiwa dying at the end, I did not have a problem. It's just that build up from Somi's character of showing the resentment or anger towards Tiwa that I have a problem with that we didn't see. Yeah, so my major problem with the ending was just
Cynthia,
Lakuli's story.
wrap it up.
I'm done. I'm done. I'm
Okay.
done. I'm done. I'm done.
All right. Thank you very much. Yeah, again, I am with you on the story. I didn't need it to be told perfectly because we still saw that he was shy. It would have been fine for him to tell it haltingly because it's baby steps, but it would have been nice to have him tell the story anyway. Mel, are you back? Mel's not up as a speaker. Okay, Fida, can you tell us what you did not like about the Griot?
Okay. So basically, similar to what a lot of people have said, but I'll still say because I said it in my own way. The first one is I didn't connect with the character of the mother because she was bringing me back to my teenage days when she was looking for Tiwa and Tiwa lied about where she was because she was with man. That one was so triggering. How Wahala was so much. I couldn't get where her anger was coming from. Then I realized that it was just her giving the character of a typical Yoruba mother from the times. I did enjoy seeing her apologize later to Lakunle and Tiwa. And in her own words, every day for the thief, and one day for the owner indeed. In some other parts, subtitles in some places were too fast to read at times. Like, for example, the scene between Somi and the Ifa priest. There were a couple of times when it showed up, but it went quickly before I could read it. So that was a bit distracting. I didn't connect to the scene between the Ifa priest and Somi because it lacked continuity and it seemed like a scene that was just inserted there. If it happened in the beginning and at the end, it would have flowed for me, but it just seemed random. The costuming for women confused me because even though the men had their own and they were consistent with the fabric for the men, I felt like the younger girls had different kinds of styling. And, we've spoken about the normal dresses and the button-down dresses, but I noticed how they had like olekus for like the special occasions when they were doing the masquerade festival and they were at the King's Palace. And I noticed that older women had their own consistent costumes as well, like wrappers and tops. So that made me a bit confused. And I guess maybe confused about timing, as we've mentioned, but it wasn't consistent for me. So I was just a bit confused about that. The last one for me was the ending. We've spoken about it. But for me, as far as I'm concerned, it didn't happen. The 3 months later felt like they only added it to the film for a shock factor. It didn't flow for me. So for me, as far as I'm concerned, the movie ended when Somi was banished. Maybe if they, from even like, let's say I'm in my mind, for me, I felt like we've watched movies like Election Bar, King of Thieves, and Nikolapo. Nobody has really brought a very good happy ending. So I thought that this movie was going to have that. And I loved how it ended at the play. I love how it ended at the King's Palace where everybody was happy. And I was like, finally, we have a movie that has a very good ending. So for me, in my mind, the movie ended there and then they had a wedding afterwards in which Tiwa and Lakunle were singing to each other and stuff. So yeah, those are my dislikes. Thank you.
Thank you, Faida. I agree with you. There was a wedding. It was just off screen. Mel, can you tell us what you didn't like about the Griot?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. You sound a bit far away, but I can hear you.
Okay. Okay, sorry, I'm going to say this as quickly as I can. So the thing that I dislike the most would have to do with the storytelling aspect of it.
Mel, you're breaking again.
Can you hear me?
Now I can. Anyone else? Can anyone else hear Mel?
No.
No.
Okay. Sorry, Mel. I think you need to drop off and jump in again. She Who Remains. Can you tell us what you didn't like?
Yes. Really quickly, the English, it felt like a movie I started watching and I literally had to check. Because when I was watching, I think Alessioba, my Netflix defaulted to like the English, and I was like, wait, something is off. So with this movie, I actually did the same thing where I checked and I was like, oh wait, the original is audio English. Okay, it felt like, maybe it's because I'm a Yoruba person, whatever. Like, I feel like I would have enjoyed this more in Yoruba. So that's probably one of the biggest things. But, I got over that a few minutes in when I started to enjoy it. The other thing, obviously the ending, but like it felt, I understand it was, I don't completely agree that we needed to have like the build up, expecting it and all that. I'm okay with being surprised because, like many of our parents probably said, if you lie, you will steal. If you steal, you will kill, right? Like, so me, I'm like, yeah, you put a bad situation where someone wants something they can't have, and they, and they're greedy and all of this. To me, it's actually maybe a darker view of humanity than others, but I think anybody who lies can kill, right? Like, so that part I'm fine with, especially because, again, like we've already said, it's not like he walked in like, oh, I will, I think he did make a statement about like, I'm going to take things from you or whatever. I don't know if he meant to like kidnap Tiwa. I don't know what his, like everyone has said, we don't know his plans, but the fact that he even killed Tiwa doesn't shock me. The fact that it ended there, right? So like, I'm willing to say, okay, I'm the audience, you are the creator. I'm fine with you telling the story how you want, and I'm fine with Tiwa dying, but it would have been nice to see even a half-second consequence right after, right? Like in my fantasy of this, Tiwa is a hunter. I don't know if they hunt at night, but let's say they hunt at night. He sees this thing happens, he shoots Somi, the end, right? I would have been fine with it says like certain different versions of the actual, and even like Somi immediately getting arrested, whatever their arresting mechanism is, but something like that. I think that would have added to it. So, obviously, like, it would have been nice for this to be a happy ending, but the execution of this tragic ending felt like not insulting, but it felt like telling the audience to go fuck themselves, right? It's like, and then she dies, whatever, like, why, so that part obviously bothered me, but I think overall the English stuff kind of bothered me a little bit. And I just want to quickly say I feel like, and okay, this is a movie about a storyteller, right? And we only really get two stories. That first one that maybe I need to rewatch it to like really see if I enjoy that first story. The only enjoyable story, and someone, feel free to correct me right after if I'm just completely off base on this. We only really get two stories, and the second story is the one about time, which was obviously wonderful. So and this is attempting to explain things under the hood. I wonder if they were like, look, we don't have that many stories that we're going to tell in this story. So because I think that if Lakunle had told that second story on screen, leave his whole confidence, whatever matter, like the actual story would have had to be really good. And maybe they were like, you know what? We don't got it in us. Let's focus on making this film and just do that off screen. And so that's because I think it would have really sucked if we had seen a story that was average or not, just like that would have felt like, so now we're getting the story from the main source and it's not even that good. But anyway, overall, obviously liked it. That's it. And the things I didn't like about it were not enough to tell me to tell someone not to watch it. It's just, they just are what they are. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. C.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I'm fine with English. However, I think there were a couple of words that threw me off. I think sexy was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
That didn't feel right. and something about knowing.
Nastier and hotter.
Yeah, nastier and hotter in describing a woman.
Yeah.
That didn't feel right, and also knowing your onions or something. Yeah,
Yeah, those. Sorry, no, those. I was like, what is happening? If and I think maybe that's why I wanted, because you wouldn't like when they called her hot. I was like, where are we? You know, like which village are people calling women hot? You know, and I mean, I don't know. I'm not like in the village, so anyway, that's it.
Yeah, thank you. I was gonna go grab Mr. C to to follow up on that because he had mentioned that earlier as well. I think there was something else. I can't. Oh yeah, he also. I think he was saying earlier. About because you were saying the story could have been poor, and he says he thinks that might also be a reason why they skip the story, because what if we have all this build up and the story isn't good? But because it's a film about stories and storytelling and a storyteller, I don't see why they couldn't have spent time making that story that, you know, should stand out for the finale. But yeah, thank you. Paraventure, could you please tell us what you didn't like about the Griot?
Yeah, hi. So before I go on to what I don't like, I think I just wanted to make a comment about the English part. And I didn't mind it at all. I noticed they sounded malapropic. Or what's the one? They sounded like malapropisms. But then they created a world, the ambiguity that they've, the time frame ambiguity and all that. I was pretty willing to give them that kind of license to use those kind of words. It reminds me of this series I'm watching on the BBC, The English, that is set in the whole Wild West. And then you see all sorts of F words, words that you wouldn't necessarily see or would have been spoken at that point in time. And it works. Maybe it doesn't work as well here, and it probably offends our sensibilities in terms of what our traditional, our viewpoints of what's traditional and what's cultural or African. But I didn't mind it. Anyway, that aside, what didn't I like? The first thing was, even before I watched it, I think the title just felt the griot. I was like, because I've heard about griots before this, and every time they've been used, it's to do with Malian storytellers. There are a few musicians in Mali that still maintain that griot tradition. Abi Kwate, someone I really like. So I wasn't really sure, and I don't know why they wanted to use something that's more associated with the Senegambia region rather than something, more Nigerian, I thought. But yeah, I just didn't. I thought they could have been chosen something a bit better from a title perspective. Then, yes, this one might be a bit more controversial. Lakunle Latif, I think Latif is his name, right? Is sort of like the way I view the Friends characters, Chandler and Joey. Great as comedic actors, or not, maybe not even great, but you've seen them as comedic actors, and when they try to do something dramatic, you just can't shake that comedic thing. Their facial expressions from when they were trying to be comedic just stays with them permanently. And even when he did Ayinla, I just couldn't shake it off. It was meant to be a more dramatic role. I just couldn't see him as anything other than a comedic actor. And it's more, maybe more of a personal thing. And when it's done comedic, I've liked some of it. For example, I thought it was good in that, but it was a comedic role. This was meant to be more dramatic, and I just couldn't shake him off as a comedic person. I found him funny. And that's why maybe I'm less convinced about the romance than everyone else seems to. Everyone seems to have bought into it. I just didn't buy into it. I put myself in the lady's shoes, and I thought, if I was a lady, I'll probably go for Sammy, the villain. Because I mean, if you think about it, I was thinking about Beauty and the Beast, where Belle, and I saw something as like a Gaston kind of character, full of himself, a lot of puffery. All the girls wanted him, but who did she go for? She didn't go for the the buffoon. She went for someone a bit more with a bit more, a bit more mystery about them. I don't think Lakunle had any kind of mystery. I just didn't buy why she would like him. She didn't even know he was a storyteller. It was just ordinary. So I didn't really buy that. And then the end, and just to put it into perspective with other films we've seen, so it reminded me of Anikulapo. It's just that this one was a bit shorter. This setups that just come, these stories that just come from nowhere, and you're just like, what the WTF? Thankfully, but I think the problems with the end started even a bit further back. I think you've already mentioned the fact that they couldn't even muster up a story at the end. It just felt like the creative juices started to run out a bit from the 75% minute mark, if you like. So the resolution of how it was outed felt a bit rushed. I thought that was when the pace started to feel a bit, oh, how am I going to finish this? And I think that was why they thought they had to tack on and end the ending that they did, because the juices just ran out, and well, I've got to make up for it somehow. And that's it. Cheers.
Okay, thank you. Some people might fight you on some things, but
on the Latif thing,
yeah,
Latif's always been an actor, but like that, I think that was his first thing.
Yeah,
I think
comedy just unfortunately grabbed him. Yeah,
and that's probably what he's unfortunately more famous for now these days. So the comedic roles were like that guy's just a really solid actor. I remember somebody in this space actually once said, "Why do you guys think Latif is a comedic actor? Like he's been doing dramatic. He's a proper actor. Like he's not a comedic actor." Well, there we go. That's
in the Yoruba movie space, Latif actually does a lot of dramatic, romantic roles that has actual drama too.
Yeah.
So it was never a comedic. It was never just a comedic actor.
Yeah. Yeah. But I agree with that last few bits. The bit at the end where it is what it is. Is Miss C, you're hosting?
Yeah. So, Mr. C, do you want to tell us what you didn't like?
Oh, it's my turn?
Yeah, it's your turn.
Okay, all right. The first thing I'm going to say was the thing that really, I can't believe how much, like, this bothered me a lot. It's this over sort of production going on in the in the film. Like, so there were points where they were trying to make it more brighter. I'm trying to avoid technical terms. Like make certain aspects of the film more brighter. So like sometimes it's the face or the head, and you just see it's supposed to be that it'll be like a circle of the head, and it's supposed to be tracking them, and you see when they move, you see like this bright thing, like almost like they have
it was like a halo, like they were shining.
Yeah, they did it at so many places, and it's one of those things where I understand why you want to do it, and I understand the temptation with doing it, but it's almost the same thing as like trying to cancel noise from mics, where you do it and you do too much, and now like it sounds like you're recording something in a vacuum. It's like over processing is a thing, and it didn't. I just don't think it made it look better. I think it made things look worse. It's probably better either you just expose everything to whatever, make everything as bright as that place that you're trying to brighten up, or just leave it as it is, because it was following so many characters. It was so difficult to unsee, and it's one of the things that sullies this from movie from me for me. Is I can't unsee it. It was so distracting. What else? Okay. It's a shame. I think everybody's talked about the ending. It's a shame he had to Cyro at the end. But yeah, it is what it is. And I think I talked about some of the words. But I guess this isn't a bad, but it's where I am. This might have come out in my summary, but I might as well say it here. I think it's worth. I think this if this movie had ended where it ended, I would have liked it and I'd have enjoyed it. And I think, to be honest, there's a crowd for this, and maybe this is where mainstream stuff that appeals to a wide audience. Maybe this is where it's at, or where it should be, or that kind of thing. But um, I would say even for like is it Sumi? Sumi's his name. For someone like Sumi, I saw his motivations quite alright, which like is a thing I pointed that was alright. I just thought he was just a little soupçon of stupid. Just a little stupid. Because I don't know how you mess with your bag like this. Like Latif is your bag. You should not be messing with your bag carelessly like this, right? I actually understand in the movie, right? Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that's why I was a bit, I was a bit cautious about calling this a bad, but it's a thing. If he was somehow smarter whilst maintaining this, I would have enjoyed it more. And I think it's possible to get him smarter, because I couldn't help but thinking this guy is dumb for like messing with his bag like this. Because like it can't end well. Like, what's your end game? Again, I think it's possible in that world to just think of Latif's character as just so timid, nothing, he could never do anything about it. Still think it's stupid, because there's just places where I think he could have gone, oh, this is getting away from me now. I need to find a way. I think at some point he tries to bribe him. I was like, Jesus, you have no sense whatsoever. But yeah, that's my small. If he could have been smarter, I would have enjoyed it more. Right? Like, he would have been a very memorable villain. Like some of the villains that we like, they're very smart. They just know what they're doing. And I just wish it could have been it's a bit smarter. But yeah.
All right, thank you, Mr. C. I just
Oh, sorry. ADR. Jesus.
I was gonna say
Had I not
that.
mentioned sound? Okay, it's because I'm just. I guess I'm just. Sometimes I'm done with Nollywood sound. To be fair, I have to say this ADR, the actual sounds, weren't always the worst. I mean,
It's just the matching.
yeah,
That was a problem.
well, which sometimes you have to just figure out how to cheat for that, and sometimes they did well. They cheated for it well, and sometimes where I'm like, they're probably ADR this now because like the sound just sounds a little fine, but
Yeah.
the sounds didn't always sound too different. I just watched Weather for Two. Right? I watched Weather for Two today. Yeah, there's bad ADR, like the ADRs where like the sounds like, yeah, you sound like you
Like
went
there
to
is
the
no genuine sound in this film.
you sound like you went to the studio to get this mixed. Like you were like about to like just add some beats, yeah, the sound doesn't sound particularly too egregious. So yeah, that's my part. Sorry.
Okay. Thank you. I think I just echo the same things. The ADR took me out a few times. I remember this scene where Lakunle was saying he wasn't going to I think that's when he was saying he wasn't going to the festival, and I swear his lips were barely moving and I was hearing sound so yeah, it took me out a few times. That ending was somewhat unforgivable, but I had been warned, so I was expecting a weird end, and I ended it where I ended it. And with Fida, they got together and had a wedding, and everyone lived happily ever after. Then
Cope.
Allow me cope, please. Okay. Yeah, I like Mr. C said earlier, there were some word choices that took me out. I remember when I heard he knows his onions, I just turned and looked at Mr. C, looked at me as well, and we're like, no, that doesn't work. Again, the vagueness of the time period also I know you do, stressed me out, just because I'm seeing too many different fashions coming together, and it was really stressful for me. We haven't been able to get Mel on, but Mel has sent a bit of a summary. And I think Mel's major problem with it is the way the stories are told. They're not really in tune with oral tradition, the Yoruba oral tradition of telling stories. The musicality, carrying through the sensibilities, they seem to be lacking. And I don't know, maybe that would have translated better in Yoruba because English didn't manage to maintain it. So that would have been less distracting if they had done that. But yeah, I think that's everyone's bads. So we can move on to summaries. Yeah?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Vanessa, let's hear your summary first.
All in all, I thought the premise was really good. There's some really good performances in this. Would I have preferred if the stories were told in Yoruba? Yes. Would I have preferred to have had Lakune tell the story and us see him tell the story at the end? Yeah. Did the end happen? The end that they chose to go with happened? No. The end that I had in my head happened? Yes. And so I would recommend people to watch it. Just slice off the last 10 minutes of it.
Awesome, thank you. Otas, tell us your summary.
Great story, great premise. Really love the leads for this one, male and female. Well, I guess both males and female. I wouldn't watch it again just because of the end. And I would recommend it with the caveat as well.
Thank you, Otas. I think I would also say skip the last 6 minutes.
6?
6? 5?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe you should do the research, mate.
Oh, sorry, Olga. All right. Elizabeth, tell us your summary, please.
Overall, I think this was a simple story told well. I keep imagining what they would do if they had like a bigger budget. Um, I will I will definitely recommend it because I've been recommending it with the caveat. I've been telling people that stop watching after the first resolution and keep it moving. And I think people got people got the idea. The tragedy was unnecessary. We didn't have to have it, but good luck and kudos to everybody involved.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Oyinka, your summary, please.
I enjoyed this movie, and I think it's a movie that if you watch it, you won't be upset that you spend time watching it. It is steeped within a Nigerian similar culture, and I don't mind that it's in English. I don't necessarily think that the movie should be in Yoruba or something. I think that English now for 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 better or for worse is now our language too, and we should also use English the way we use English, and I'm okay with that. Um, sorry. So, as I always say, if you like the movie, good. If you don't, okay, watch something more interesting. It's a free country. Well, free in regards of you can choose the movie. Well, okay. You know what? For now, in this context, it's free. You can watch whatever you want to watch.
We understand, Oyinka. Thank you very much. Also, yeah, the thing with the English, I think for me, it's I'm used to like our older Nigerian films, village settings, having English, and it's always there's precedence exactly, and it's always like good English as well, like great, like the word choice, beautiful, all that stuff. So yeah, it works for me, it makes sense to me. Cynthia, let us know your summary, please, and thank you.
Oh my god. Yes. Why? Yeah, sorry, I was chewing food. So yes, I like the movie. It's a beautiful story. I'm actually happy we had to like do it in film club because I would have missed it. Yeah, I would recommend it. My only problem, my only problem with this movie was Lankole not having to tell his story. But yeah, the movie was good.
Thank you, Cynthia. Fida, let's hear it.
All right. I recommend this film for the acting and storyline alone. I liked how it was told and how it mostly flowed. The chemistry between the characters and the relationship between most of them. I liked how the story ended with a wedding at the end. Lovely. I loved Lateef Adedimeji, Goodness Emmanuel, Alakunle's father. I love Bosse as well. I like this film and I highly recommend. Thank you.
Thank you, Vida. Mr. C is calling our ending a fantasy, but he's a dirty liar. A dirty liar. Paraventure, please tell us what you like. Tell us your summary. Paraventure, are you there? Okay, Creative Fingers, can you tell us your summary, please?
Okay, yeah, for me, it was a great film, and I be the odd one, but I particularly like how it ended. And the the storytelling was beautiful, well told. Everything mattered. Everything drove the plot. Brilliant. And yeah, there might be one or two downs, but total, it's a great watch. And I feel like don't skip the end. Watch it to the end, everybody. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, everyone take on whatever advice you would like to take. Mr. C, read on an anonymous summary.
All right. Okay. So this says, I liked that there was storytelling within storytelling. One of my favorite scenes was the scene where Sumi finds Tiwa and Nakunde together for the first time. The hate in his eyes felt surreal. Most times when there was dialogue, I wished I was hearing it in Yoruba. Maybe it's the setting and mood the film gave. I loved the father-son relationship with Nakunde and his dad. I loved Tiwa, but I wish the end wasn't the end. I most definitely will recommend.
All right, thank you. I'm just going to say anyone that takes Creative Fingers recommendation and watches the end should hold him if they don't like it. But if you skip the end and then you watch it later and it turns out you like it, come and hold the rest of us.
Okay.
So, Ekene, can you tell us what did you like? What was your summary? What is your summary?
Yeah. So yeah. The only thing that is just that just stops me from going watch this. You know, the ending is rushed, but like the reason why I might not recommend this with my chest is honestly that post production thing, and it's weird because maybe not everybody will but I feel like people usually catch up to all these things later, and I don't want. I'm not that guy. You're gonna this, but whatever. But like,
So recommend it with the
hey, leave my summary for me. That's why
Summarize.
I married the host of show.
Summarize.
Anyway, so but I did enjoy a lot of the story. It felt familiar. I don't think whilst I enjoy it, I still wouldn't say it's game changing, but it doesn't need to be. It's playing a simple tune, and it does it fine for the most part. That ending, people have said it. I'm joining Copeland and Fantasyland and saying that's not my ending.
Hashtag not our ending.
Yeah, hashtag not my ending. And what else? Yes, but yeah, I would say to most people, to be honest, they'll probably not notice the thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I'm hoping to see more stuff from these guys. I don't know. I don't know who is responsible, but for
Mr.
so much.
Nominator.
I don't know who is responsible for the core of the story. I know, like um, um, goodness, I almost said blessing. I know that goodness is both the actor and producer, but I don't know where the belly, the sweetness of the soul of the story, whether it's in the script and the director. I don't know, but like I hope I see more things from them. And honestly, this is where I was hoping the trajectory of Nollywood would have been going, but maybe 5 years ago. Like this is like, hey, we're making steps forward. We've improved a couple of things, but yes,
we're making steps forward.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. C.
I don't know why Vanessa has a hand up.
Oh, Vanessa, you have your hand up. Do you want to say something?
Yes, sorry, I forgot a pertinent part of my summary.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also going to help Cynthia to say her own part of her summary that she forgot. But my pertinent part is this film taught us one thing. Contrary to what Paraventure thinks, women like ordinary men. The female gaze is not different from is vastly different from the male gaze, and what men think is attractive and what a woman wants are completely different. As proven to us by Tiwa, women like ordinary, unassuming men. And in the words of Cynthia, Mrs. C should always host film club. That's our summary.
Thank you very much. I agree. As evidenced by my husband, very ordinary. Anyway, I don't really have much more to add. I really did enjoy the core of the story. I enjoyed the emotional part for it. It felt very nostalgic for me in terms of Tales by Moonlight and, you know, getting told stories by my grandma at night. It really hit my heart in that area. So that was nice. I enjoyed a lot of the performances. Yes, I enjoyed the wedding. The wedding was so beautiful. It was fantastic. Great scene, great costume. Everyone looked beautiful there. But yeah, I would recommend it. I would recommend it with the skip the last 7-minute caveats. I recommend it with the some production issues. Don't look too much at it. I mean, like, we liked Kasala despite all of the production issues, post-production issues. So yeah, so just look past that and just focus on the story, and inshallah they get a better budget and the next one has fewer of those post-production issues. But yeah, I think it was a good watch. I'm glad we watched it. And I always like a space when it's mostly positive. I know the drags can be fun sometimes, but I enjoy the positive spaces more.
All right. Okay. I think next week we're doing a
Nullified.
Yeah, next week is the Nullified. So we're going to be debating in theme with the end of the, I was going to say end of the world. I don't know. End of the year. In theme with the end of the year. Like best this, best that, worst this, worst that. So I think that's going to be a fun one. We'll take a break from recommending movies, although discussing movies in this kind of form. The last thing we'll discuss for the year is Far From Home on the 16th, so watch out for that. And huge shout out to our host for today.
Thank you, everyone. This was fun. See you next Sunday. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the episode. If you enjoyed listening and would like to join live, just follow us on Twitter at IrokoCritic and join us every Sunday, 6 p.m. West African time on our spaces.